Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real tale with you. They say that love knows no boundaries, no limits, and no age. It just happens when it's meant to. Now, this is easy to say, but if the foundation of that love is built on crime, can it really be called love? Today's story is somewhat similar. If we call it a love story, it would be an insult to love. And if we call it a story of greed, that might be a more appropriate term. What happened in this story? Who were the people involved? To find out, stay tuned to this video. This story is set in Kanpur. There was a family living in Kanpur, and the head of that family was named Rajesh Gautam, who was 40 years old. Rajesh's father had passed away. Rajesh had two brothers, and there was a lot of love between them. Their father was a landlord who left behind property worth millions for his children. Each brother received 200 million rupees, and altogether, Rajesh owned property worth 300 to 400 million rupees. On the other hand, Rajesh was an educated man and worked as a teacher in a government school. And along with his job, he also used to work in property dealing because he had a lot of properties. In 2012, his family found a girl for him, and Rajesh got married. The girl's name was Pinky. After the marriage, everything was going well between them, and time was passing happily. Then they had two children, both sons. Financially, everything was stable, and everything was fine at home as well. 10 years had passed since their marriage, but there was never any news of them having any arguments or disagreements. No one ever heard about any issues between them. Instead, it was always heard that they were very happy together. They were extremely happy in their married life. Rajesh was attentive to his work, his home, and everything. He would wake up early, go to school, and then manage his property dealing work. But whenever he woke up in the morning, it was always before 6 a.m., and he would go for a walk. This was a very old habit of his, and he had instilled this habit in his children as well. As his children grew older, he would take them along for the morning walk, and during these walks, he would talk to them about everything. What they did at school, how they spent their time at home when he was at work. This strengthened the bond between Rajesh and his children. In 2021, Rajesh had a plot of land in Kanpur and thought, why not build something on this plot, like a flat, so it can be useful? So he began construction on the plot, and of course he needed laborers and a skilled mason for the job. Rajesh found out about a mason named Shailendra, who was very experienced in this kind of work, building flats and houses. He was meticulous and attentive in his work, and the results were always excellent. Shailendra was around 40 years old. In 2021, Rajesh hired Shailendra to build the flat on his plot. As we know, constructing a flat or house is a long process, often taking 2 to 3 years. Similarly, the work on Rajesh's flat began, and during this time, Shailendra started visiting Rajesh's home more frequently. Sometimes he would come to collect payments, other times to discuss materials needed for the project or to seek Rajesh's advice. At first, everything seemed normal when Shailendra would visit Rajesh's home, but then somehow Shailendra and Rajesh's wife Pinky fell in love. Rajesh's life was very busy. He would go to school, teach the children, come home, check on his flat's work, and then attend to his property dealing business. Every day, by the time he returned home, it would be 8 p.m. He would leave for school at 7 a.m., and on his days off, he would spend an hour at home before returning at 8 p.m. At home, there were 2 small children and Pinky, who were alone most of the time. When the work on the flat began, the mason started coming to the house frequently. Over time, with the mason coming and going, Pinky developed feelings for him, and soon they fell in love. They both knew that Rajesh wasn't home much, so they began meeting secretly. No one imposed any restrictions on them because there was no one to stop or watch them. They continued to meet, but as the saying goes, lies and theft are quickly caught, and they too were caught. The neighbors, who lived next to Rajesh, noticed that while Rajesh was often away, the mason was at his house every day. They observed that a professional person usually has a schedule, but this mason would come at odd times and stay for hours, which raised their suspicion even more. That's why the news gradually reached Rajesh, and Rajesh also started thinking that if Shailendra had any work with him, he would usually talk to him over the phone, and if he needed money, Rajesh would go to the plot and give it to him. He began keeping an eye on Shailendra, and as his suspicions grew, one day he called Shailendra over and said, "Here is your money, and from today onwards you won't come to my house anymore. I'll find another worker. I've settled your account." He explained things clearly to Shailendra and then sent him away. Rajesh then told his wife, "If any strangers come to the house, the neighbors will start talking, so you should stop meeting them. If someone does come, only interact with them as much as necessary. Don't keep them sitting in the house for long hours." He indirectly conveyed these things to his wife. And when Rajesh tried to explain to both of them, they both got angry. Pinky started thinking that because of the man she loved, she couldn't be with him due to her husband. Meanwhile, Shailendra was thinking that he could no longer visit Pinky's house, but he couldn't live without meeting her either. So, they started talking on the phone and passed some time like that. While talking on the phone, they both said, "How long can we keep talking like this? We need to find a solution." One solution was that Pinky could divorce Rajesh and marry Shailendra, but that didn't happen because greed took over her mind. She wanted to claim all of Rajesh's property and money in her name. She wanted to take all his money and go to Shailendra. They wanted to live a wealthy life, not in poverty. She wanted to be with Shailendra, but not as the wife of a mason because he didn't have any money. She wanted both love and money. Then she started thinking about what to do. If she divorced Rajesh, she would lose the property. So, Pinky and Shailendra began discussing this topic further and decided to get Rajesh out of the way because they both realized that they wanted the same thing: money and each other. At first, they planned to create a fight between Rajesh and his brothers, thinking they would kill Rajesh themselves. But they decided against it, realizing that the three brothers loved each other too much and had never fought since childhood. Then they made another plan: to kill Rajesh in such a way that they could claim he died of an illness, like saying he got COVID-19 and passed away. Then one day, Shailendra brought Pinky to the city and said to give the poison to Rajesh. Pinky did as she was told. She put poison in Rajesh's food, and as soon as he ate, Rajesh started feeling sick. He was rushed to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't figure out that he had been poisoned. He stayed in the hospital for a few days, and once he recovered, he returned home. Their plan failed, and no one discovered that Rajesh had been poisoned. Pinky then told Shailendra that they couldn't try to poison him again because if they did, they might get caught. They then thought of another plan: to hire a hitman to kill Rajesh since he owned a lot of property and was worth millions. They both agreed to hire a killer, and Shailendra found one. The deal was settled at 4 million rupees. The killer told Pinky to give him the 4 million rupees up front, and only then would he carry out the job. Desperate to get rid of her husband, Pinky quickly gave him the money since she had plenty of it. The killer assured her that the job would be done within a few days, but it wasn't. Rajesh was still alive, and Pinky became very worried. She asked Shailendra what had happened and why the killer hadn't killed Rajesh yet, but the killer's phone was now unreachable. Later, they discovered that the contract killer had run off with their money. They realized they couldn't go to the police station to file a report against him, because if they did, the police would arrest them first. So, they eventually decided to be patient and try again. The second time, they went to hire another contract killer, but it didn't work out because they had already learned that they hadn't paid the money before time the job done. This killer wouldn't do the job without getting paid up front, and they hadn't even told him that Rajesh was the target. They only discussed the plan with him, but it didn't go anywhere. Time was passing by, and their meetings were restricted. Both were getting anxious about removing the obstacle in their path so that they could be together. Since the poisoning and contract killing plans had failed, they thought, why involve a third person? Why don't we kill Rajesh ourselves? Pinky agreed and said, let's do it ourselves and make it look like an accident. People die in road accidents every day, and no one will suspect that someone deliberately killed him. Shailendra then said, okay, I agree with you, but to do that we need a car. We can't just pick Rajesh up from his house and kill him. We would be caught immediately. So, they planned to buy a second-hand car and kill Rajesh. Then they bought a second-hand eco car, removed the number plate and put a fake one on it. They then said that they would kill Rajesh when there wasn't much traffic and there were people around so that they'd know his location. They planned to go, do something to him, and then escape without anyone noticing. They also thought about what they would do if their car broke down while they were escaping, so they arranged for another car and said if the first car broke down, they would switch to the other car. Pinky mentioned that Rajesh goes for a morning walk every day, but on Monday to Friday, it's the weekday, so there are people working and opening their shops. But on Saturday, there are very less people. However, Rajesh still goes for his morning walk every day. The two then decided to carry out their plan on a Saturday. Shailendra said he would drive the car, but the problem was that Rajesh's two sons also accompanied him on the walks. Rajesh's wife, who loved her children very much but wanted to kill her husband, thought about how she could prevent her two sons from going on the walk that day. On Saturday, Rajesh woke up at 6 a.m. and got ready for his morning walk. When he went to wake up the children, Pinky stopped him and made an excuse that the children weren't feeling well and were a bit sick, so he should go alone that day. Rajesh didn't suspect anything because this had happened before when the children weren't well and couldn't go, so he went for his morning walk alone. And when Rajesh stepped out of the house, Pinky quickly called Shailendra and informed him that Rajesh had left. Shailendra then drove to Rajesh's house. Pinky sat in the car with Shailendra and directed him on the route, explaining that Rajesh usually passes by the sweet shop because there's a wide road outside it, which would make it easier to hit him. However, Rajesh had no idea what was about to happen to him. The car sped towards Rajesh and he was hit. He sustained a severe head injury and started bleeding. Just then, another car arrived from behind, and they got out from the car and fled the scene. Rajesh was left there, writhing in pain. Soon, some people heard the noise, rushed to the spot, and they saw some people came from one car and then sit in another car. They quickly called an ambulance and also informed the police. Rajesh was taken to the hospital, but it was too late, and he passed away. The police were told by the witnesses that it was a road accident, that someone had hit Rajesh with their car. The police informed Rajesh's family, who rushed to the hospital. When they learned that Rajesh was no more, they were devastated, crying inconsolably. Pinky quickly returned home, and the others who were there had already fled. The police filed a report, treating it as a road accident case. They initially thought it was a simple matter, but decided to check the CCTV footage anyway. When they reviewed the CCTV footage, they noticed a car with a fake license plate, but they didn't examine it carefully. Meanwhile, Rajesh's brother went to the police station and filed a report, claiming that his brother did not die in a road accident, but was murdered. He explained that there had been previous attempts on Rajesh's life, and this accident was staged. Someone had deliberately killed him. Then the police found out from the hospital where Rajesh had been admitted for several days. Rajesh's brothers also told the police that they should look into the entire story of Shailendra and Pinky, as Rajesh had mentioned this to his brothers. The police started focusing on the case, and upon checking the CCTV footage again, they saw that one car had been following another car the entire time. An eyewitness also told the police that the people had changed cars during their escape. The police then obtained Rajesh's call details, but the brothers suspected his sister-in-law, Pinky. The police then retrieved Pinky's call details. When the call details were examined, it was found that on the day of Rajesh's accident, Pinky had received a call from a number belonging to Shailendra around 5:30 or 6 in the morning. Rajesh's brothers wondered why Pinky would receive a call from Shailendra so early in the morning. The police traced the locations of Shailendra and Pinky at that time, and their locations matched the place where Rajesh was attacked. The police quickly apprehended Shailendra and interrogated him. Shailendra, frightened, revealed the whole truth. The police then called Pinky and questioned her as well, and she also confessed the entire truth. The truth of this case has come to light. At that time, Shailendra and Pinky were with 2 other people, and now Shailendra, Pinky, and their third accomplice are in police custody, while one person is still not in custody. Pinky wanted to enjoy all her husband's money and wealth with her lover, but nothing like that happened. Her husband has passed away and she ended up in jail, along with the person with whom she had dreamed of living a comfortable life. Pinky neither received any money nor improved the lives of Shailendra and the 2 children. Rajesh is no longer in this world, and the other one is left a greedy mother who is now also imprisoned. The children's lives have been ruined entirely because of their mother. If only people thought about their children and those around them before committing such crimes, the world would improve, and crime rates would significantly decrease. So, this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable.